Ladies and gentlemen, today the men and women of the United States Air Force, in keeping with one of the oldest traditions in the military service, pay special tribute to Master Sergeant Gregory A. Peterson, Jr. on the occasion of his retirement after 20 years of distinguished service to his country. The presiding official for today's ceremony is Major Steve Lanuzzo, a student at Naval Postgraduate School. We are honored to have some very special guests in attendance today with us. Master Sergeant Peterson's spouse, Elizabeth, and their children, Noah and Sam. His parents, Greg and Debbie Peterson. And his brother, Nate, and his fiancée, Candace. The distinguished visitors with us today are the Commander, 548th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Colonel Scott Nargang. The Deputy Commander, 548th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Lieutenant Colonel Stacy Widow. And the Superintendent, 548th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Chief Master Sergeant Edward Slacum. We would especially like to thank all group commanders, squadron commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, and men and women who have served with Master Sergeant Peterson. Ladies and gentlemen, once the official party has taken their places, please remain standing for the presentation of our nation's colors and the playing of our national anthem. During the playing of the national anthem, military guests will stand at attention while civilian guests are invited to place their right hand over their heart. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party.
Present the colors.
Mark, time. Color. Halt. Present hearts. Right shoulder. Hearts. Colors turn. Arch. Bears ready, 2. Bears ready, 2.
Staff Sergeant Likima Bullock, will you please come forward and offer the invocation?
Let's pray.
giver of life, and almighty Lord our God. Today we come to you with deep gratitude in our hearts for all the gifts you give us each day: family, loved ones, good friends, laughter, and our great jobs. Help us always to receive these gifts with a heart of thanks, and may we be stirred to remember all of your mercies with which we receive through your love toward us. We come in your holy name to offer up thanks and praise for Master Sergeant Greg Peterson. His time at Beale and in our great United States Air Force is ending, and he will soon begin a new stage of life's journey. So we ask that you keep your hand of grace on him as he sets out to explore new horizons. You have blessed him over his service, and you have kept him from his initial enlistment all the way to today as he crosses the finish line. He is blessed to be retiring from the United States Air Force, and he will continue to walk within your will and open a new chapter in his and his family's lives. This new phase of his life will present some exciting challenges, but we believe all things are possible through you. As he walks through the midst of unknown variables in his transition, Lord, give him patience, vision, and a clear direction. Lord, we also ask that you help him remember to slow down and enjoy life a little bit more. Lord, give him joy and give him peace in the quietness. Let him continue to walk with you as he embarks on a new life full of mission and purpose. We ask also that you bless his wife, Liz, and his children, Noah and Sam, who are his backbone and support him every day. Give them your strength and grace as all together they step off into this new endeavor. And of course, we ask a special blessing for this whole family, that they may grow together and deeper in your love as the years go by. Your strength enables us to protect others. Your providence keeps us safe. Help us to turn our hearts towards you each and every day. In the name of the Creator, the Savior, and the Sustainer, Jesus Christ, amen.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant Bullock, Mr. Smith-Williams, and Beale Honor Guard. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the presiding officer, Major Steve Lanuza.
How's everybody doing today? Can you guys hear me okay? Welcome everyone to Master Sergeant Peterson's retirement ceremony. First and foremost, I want to say thanks to Greg for allowing me to be part of this ceremony. I'd like to thank Liz and Noah and Sam also for the opportunity. Colonel Nargang, Lieutenant Colonel Widoff, Chief Slacum, thanks for giving me the opportunity to be here today. And then all the DVs and leadership personnel that I did not mention, welcome guys. You know, it's always a great honor to be able to speak at these events. The day is special in many ways because for the retiree, it's actually their last official act in the Air Force. But it's also a time to showcase all the wonderful things that not only Greg, but Liz, Noah, and Sam have endured over the past 21 years. It's a chance for us to show our appreciation for the family. It's our chance to respect the sacrifices that they've made. But most importantly, it's a chance to honor them in the Air Force tradition that we hold so dear. Sergeant Peterson and his family have given us their all to a career that's filled with impacts and accolades to more than I can count. And believe me, I've looked over his evaluation reports and it's just stacked with items. But most importantly, he's made the Air Force a better place. He's grown up our new younger airmen to take his place, and the world outside of the Air Force is just better all around. When I was prepping for this, you know, I thought about a few things. First thing I thought about was, if I talk more than 15 minutes, you guys are going to fall asleep and you're really not going to remember what I'm going to say. So it's not really what I'm going to say that I think that you'll remember, but it's about the words and how it makes you feel. Second thing that I thought about was, what do I want to tell you about Sergeant Peterson and his family? And the last thing that I wanted to tell you about is, what's the legacy that Greg's going to leave behind? So here it goes. Here's the bottom line. Here's the test, answer to the test questions. Sergeant Peterson's story is about growth, not only as an individual, but as a husband, a father, and an airman. Secondly, Greg's character stresses what I call the 4 F's, and that's faith, family, fitness, and the force, of which we all belong to. So I asked some of his colleagues to describe him, some of the words that they came up with, and I kind of diluted it to be more positive stuff. Spiritual, caring, active, capable, a leader. And what I got out of it was, most importantly, is that Greg is a man of values, and he has a good heart. Combined, those traits embody our Air Force core values of integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. But I want to take you back into, what we call a finny flight, the final flight, and go back in time to 1997, when Greg actually enlisted in the United States Air Force. Greg grew up in Illinois, in the town of Joliet, right? Just southwest of Chicago. And I looked it up, and it's about a population of 148,000, so pretty good sized town. Right? And you guys want to know who else who grew up there? That young lady right there, Liz. Liz and Greg have actually known each other since 6th grade. So math in public, does that make you guys 11 years old? So in 1997, Greg went off to the Air Force to be an imagery analyst. And his first duty was, guess what? It's good old Bill. Before DGS-2 was the mega city that we see now. And for all of you imagery analysts, Greg was talking to me, and he was telling me that he used to work on cars, right? And he asked me about it. And I said, hey, brother, I only saw that in textbooks while I was in school. So more power to you. A lot happens with Greg's life at his first duty station. He grows up in all kinds of ways, in the ways that we talked about. Right out the gates, Greg is crushing it. And he supports an operation called Allied Force, which, if you guys might recall, was a crisis in Kosovo. It's a very, very serious mission. He supported both U.S. and NATO allies, providing critical intelligence of enemy air defenses, where he helped destroy 28 enemy aircraft and 39 defense radars. He also got an achievement out of that, achievement medal for his actions. So at a really young age, we're starting to see Greg blossom as a career leader. Then something happens in 2000. Liz and Greg get married. Fast forward a year after that, and the world changes. 9/11 happens. Greg was in DC at the time, and he worked alongside our other intelligence agency, where he and a small team of analysts supported the first armed predator missions in Afghanistan as our special forces went into the country. It was also around this time that Greg and Liz found out that they were pregnant with Noah. So for 3 months, Liz had to go it alone, putting service before self, and like any supported military spouse, she made it work. Noah was born in 2002, and 2 years later they had Sam in 2004. So a lot happened, man. And then they moved to MacDill Air Force Base. By that time, Greg got to MacDill. He had matured in a number of ways. He was a husband, he was a father, twice over, multiple achievements as a proven leader, to include his leadership award at Airman Leadership School, and he was now a tech sergeant. At MacDill, he continued to grow and improve and became a team leader and a supervisor working at CENTCOM, so now we're talking joint, where he mentored and taught the imagery exploitation career course as the lead GeoWin instructor, and he did that for several years. Greg must have done something right, because his next assignment was the Aloha State of Hawaii. Now, talking to both Liz and Greg, they really fell in love with their community and the culture. When I talked to them, they said that by far that was your guys' number one. No disrespect to Bill. Greg was an active member at the local school. He coached softball. And just in about every intramural that I saw on base, because that's where I met Greg, he was involved. And the group, they even won the safe softball championship one year, marking you as 1 out of 52 teams. Work-wise, it was a busy time in the world. It was around 2011. So, the war in Afghanistan was raging, Libya was kicking off, and in the Pacific, there was an earthquake, you guys might recall, that affected Japan. And everybody was worried about that nuclear reactor that was going to rupture. Nobody really knew. Greg and his team, Delta Flight, were the first team to exploit that imagery from the Global Hawk, and they provided that intelligence to the daily briefers at the White House. Those briefers then briefed former President Obama of the status of the situation. And I remember getting that phone call because I hung up on the White House on accident. They called me for imagery, and I said, hey, this is a secured line, click. And then I called my boss, the squadron commander, and he said, oh, yeah, Steve-O, I told him that you'd give it to me. And I said, well, thanks, sir, I appreciate it. I'll call them back. Make sure they get that. After Tomodachi, Operation Tomodachi, Greg moved to the group staff, where Greg and I worked together as the imagery flight chief, and I was the assistant director of operations. I remember asking Greg every morning if I was going to go to jail, and if so, what did I need to know? Jail was actually code for being in the commander's office, and if I was going to be there, what did I need to know to get out of the boss's office? Ironically, I actually never was in the boss's office, and if I was, it was only for good things. I'm a firm believer that because guys like Greg never allowed me to fail, that's why I succeeded. And so for that, I'm thankful. And that's how he led individuals that were above him, because he never let us fall. So as you can see, Greg was becoming a 360-degree leader. And that is what we call leaders that lead the people below them, lead the people to the side of them, and lead the people above them. After his time in Hawaii, Greg came back here to Beale, where he's been nothing but stellar, and his records reflect that. And I had a brief opportunity to speak with Colonel Nargang before I came down here, and Brother Colonel Nargang calls you a consulate professional in OGB, and that you were able to be the chief of standing eval without any officer in charge. And because of your work ethic and leadership, you filled that gap. And he was totally comfortable with it. So that's a lot of faith in your leadership and you. And I think that echoes your legacy. So here we are. I'm almost done, so Greg, I hope you're ready to talk about it. Overall, I counted 8 major operations that Greg supported all around the world, from humanitarian operations in Europe, in Asia, to major military campaigns in Iraq, to the global war on terror in Afghanistan. I look at your family and I see a supportive wife in Liz. And Liz, I want you to know that Greg has told me always how much he appreciates you and how much he's been by his side and been raging the storm, so that we can get to this point. Noah and Sam, I know you guys had to move 2 times in a year, and it's not easy making friends and leaving friends and just trying to get that rhythm. But the love of the Father is it's unmeasurable, and I think Greg would like you guys to know that. Last point I want to make. What's it mean for us to have served with Greg? So I want to share with you, actually not my words, but from one of his colleagues, because I think that resonates the best. And it's from Master Sergeant Hester. Finding one or two words to describe him as a person or an airman is impossible. He's one of the most dependable, hardworking, and loyal friends and coworkers I've had throughout my 21 years. If I ever needed anything from him as a friend or as a coworker, I could always count on Greg. If I ever needed him now for anything, I know that he would be there if I called the road. Greg had not changed a bit since we were airmen, and that was exactly what I expected from him. I'm sure that many people throughout Greg's career will feel the same way about him. It will be the sad day for the Air Force and for the airmen when Greg retires. It seems to be harder to find leaders like him as the years pass by. I'm sure that along the way he has inspired younger airmen to be just as dependable, hardworking, and loyal as he has been, and that will be his Air Force legacy. Brother, you've touched more people than you'll ever know, and as you continue in your next adventure, I want you to know that you made this organization and institution a better place. It's been great. It's been one sweet ride. I'm proud to have served with you. I'm proud to be your wingman, and I don't want you to worry, because the legacy that you've left with the next generation is one that our airmen will continue to emulate for years to come. And one last story is, I actually witnessed all that, Greg, when we were prepping yesterday, and I saw your team come together, and they're all younger versions of you. Well, I mean, not physically or anything. But I see the same qualities that you've instilled in them, and so that's why I know that we're going to be all right. So on that note, let's go ahead and retire Master Sergeant Peterson. Thanks, and God bless.
Presiding Officer Major Steve Lanuza will now present Master Sergeant Peterson with the Meritorious Service Medal. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Attention to orders. Citation to accompany the award of Meritorious Service Medal. First, Oak Leaf Cluster to Master Sergeant Gregory A. Peterson, Jr. for meritorious service, 31 December 2015 to 31 July 2018. Master Sergeant Gregory A. Peterson, Jr. distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Superintendent, Standardization and Evaluations, 548th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Beale Air Force Base, California. During this period, Sergeant Peterson guided his team to fix an outdated qualification program, which led to a simplified but analytically lethal qualification for over 1,400 airmen. His leadership was critical during 110 higher headquarters directed instructor and evaluator qualification checks, during which the group earned a 100% pass rate. Additionally, Sergeant Peterson hosted the 497th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group Standardization and Evaluations Team, sharing and implementing best practices which saved 1,000 hours per year. Furthermore, he led an innovative digital signature process for qualification records that saved 1,200 hours annually. Moreover, Sergeant Peterson ran the group's no-notice evaluation program, tracking and distributing 299 evaluations and exceeding the wing's evaluation goal by 115% for 2 years. Finally, he identified a lack of post-strike debriefs for combat crews and revised a process that alerted the Airmen Resiliency Team to kinetic events, enabling crews to receive timely resiliency training. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Sergeant Peterson accumulate a distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. one more picture. Major Lanuza will now retire Master Sergeant Peterson. Department of the Air Force, Washington, D.C., Special Order Number AC-00563, to Master Sergeant Gregory A. Peterson, Jr., Beale Air Force Base, California, effective 1 August 2018. You are relieved from active duty, 548th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Beale Air Force Base, California, and retired from the United States Air Force after 20 years, 8 months, and 19 days of faithful and honorable duty in the grade of Master Sergeant by the order of the Secretary of Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. It's funny, the past news did that too. Okay, I would like to read the Certificate of Appreciation from the President of the United States. Certificate of Appreciation for Service in the Armed Forces of the United States. I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of a nation during a critical time in its history with a devotion to duty and a spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of military service. Your commitment and dedication have been an inspiration for those who will follow in your footsteps and for all Americans who join me today in saluting you for a job extremely well done. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Signed, Donald Trump, Commander-in-Chief. I will now read the Certificate of Retirement from the Air Force Chief of Staff. The Armed Forces of the United States of America, to all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Master Sergeant Gregory A. Peterson, Jr., having served faithfully and honorably, is retired from the United States Air Force. Signed, General David L. Goldfein, Chief of Staff. Additionally, Master Sergeant Peterson has received letters from the Chief of Staff of the Air Force and many other dignitaries, which will be on display at the reception. And now I'd like to invite Elizabeth to come forward and join us for a presentation of the Air Force Retirement Pin and Spouse's Certificate. Elizabeth, would you please present your husband with the Air Force Retirement Pin?
Not into the chest, just a little.
This pin is to be worn with pride. It signifies to all that the wearer has served his country well and honorably. Now, Liz, I would like to read the Certificate of Appreciation from the United States Air Force. In grateful appreciation, the United States Air Force presents a certificate of recognition to Elizabeth Peterson for the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to the nation's defense. Thank you for the support, which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service. Signed, General David L. Goldfein, Chief of Staff. Master Sergeant Peterson, Senior Master Sergeant Leach would now like to present you with a gift from the group and say a few words.
So before I give it, I'll just do my talk. This is pretty special, and Greg and I came in the Air Force together, basic training, tech school, right here, first duty assignment, and so it's a little scary in the fact that maybe I should be preparing to do this myself. Colonel Whittoff was here as a young lieutenant at the same time, but more importantly, I want to thank you for just being a great friend.
This shadow box is presented from all your fellow personnel. It is a symbol representative of your career. There is a reason we call this a shadow box, because it is only a shadow of your career, a reminder of the great portion of yourself that you have given to the Air Force. So as we who remain behind contemplate the Air Force's loss of this true leader, rest assured we will remember Master Sergeant Peterson's total dedication and loyalty. Good luck. We will miss you greatly. No, you can stay. One more thing. Now I'll invite Major Lunuzzo up to present his gift to you and say some words. And then you can sit down, my friends.
So Greg, this is from your Ohana family. Back at the 692nd ISR group staff. They wanted to pass their sincere congratulations to you. And to just let you know that you're always welcome back in Hawaii. That's it.
The Beale Air Force Base Honor Guard will now perform a flag folding ceremony in honor of Master Sergeant retired Gregory A. Peterson, Jr. For more than 200 years, the American flag has been the symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States will be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and design of the flag evolved into the flag presented before you today. The 13 horizontal stripes represent the 13 original colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness and valor, white signifies purity and innocence, and blue represents diligence, perseverance, and justice. Traditionally a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom and inspired Americans both at home and abroad. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the stars and stripes waving after the British shelling of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Bellamy to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous flag salute and patriotic oath. In July 1969, the American flag was flown in space when Neil Armstrong planted it on the surface of the moon. Today, our flag flies on constellations of the Air Force satellites that circle our globe and on the fin flash of our aircraft in harm's way in every corner of the world. Indeed, it flies in the heart of every airman who served our great nation. The sun never sets on our U.S. Air Force, nor on the flag that we so proudly cherish. Since 1776, no generation of Americans has been spared the responsibility of defending freedom. Today's airmen remain committed to preserving the freedom that others won for us for generations to come. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show respect to the flag and express our gratitude to those individuals who fought and continue to fight for freedom at home and abroad. The dawn of the 20th century, airmen have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict on lands and skies around the world. It is their responsibility, our responsibility, to continue to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we as Americans enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and all. Long may it wave. And now I present to you for the first time, Master Sergeant Gregory Peterson, United States Air Force, retired.
As if the rest of the stuff wasn't tough enough to get through, then Sergeant Leach comes up here, and I'm like trying not to just turn around and be like, okay, I need to go for a minute. It's really weird, you know, because you spend all this time in your career thinking about that 20-year mark, getting that mark, and now I'm gonna leave you guys and I'm be sad about it. All right? It's gonna be tough. I have notes that I'm going to ignore. First, I'd like to thank the guys that did this stuff. Sergeant Fonda, Sergeant Balat, up here making this stuff work. Sergeant Fonda came from a long way. Justin. This Justin used to be tops and blue. I watched him perform. He was amazing. He got his own album out. Go get it. Love Extravagant. If I could make him some money while he's here. But he's serving in civilian clothes, and there's a lot of guys like that too, Kendra. A lot of those folks that you see sitting out here. Kima, thank you for the invitation. Sergeant Leach, appreciate it. All these guys from my OGB team, all the guys that you saw doing all this stuff, and we were joking about the Beal Honor Guard thing because they're part of Beal, but they're not part of Beal Honor Guard. Sergeant Baker was Air Force Honor Guard and worked for me on crew. Amazing. I can't tell you how privileged I feel to serve those guys. The last thing before I end up like totally giving the waterworks, my wife. So I have a present. I almost forgot. It's my day, I'll do what I want. So Liz, tissue over there?
Yeah, here you go. Appreciate it.
Wait, almost forgot. I looked right at him, I thought about it, but Major Lunazo, first off, this guy, he spent a ton of time talking to people that I've served with over the years. If he could find you somewhere in my records, he'd probably called you. He contacted people that told him stories that I said, Sarah, please don't tell that at my retirement. One that I won't get into the details of, but about my first supervisor being a little bit out of line. But awesome. One of my favorite people I ever worked for. And the reason, when he was talking about coming in there and asking him what was going to get him in jail, that was a great relationship, right? This guy came in my office every day and he said, all right, and some of you guys that work for me probably heard me tell this. Tell me what's going to keep me out of jail today. And then I would tell him, like, sir, either we're going to get in trouble for this or everything's good, and he trusted me. And I learned a lot. And I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the incredibly cool gift to go on the wall with my paddle from Hawaii. But in talking to him, he was talking back and forth with my wife, and he asked her what the thing was that was a big impact in my career. And she told him the same thing she tells everybody, which is ALS. We joke about ALS, right? ALS is like, oh, you're getting re-blue. I don't know if I was ever blue. I went to ALS, and I had a wife that was, how pregnant were you? Like 8 months, right? And she's working 12-hour days, commuting an hour each way, exhausted, and trying to deal with me spending all my time in this school. And when I came back and I said, hey, I got this classmate that is struggling. I want to help them, even though you're home and tired. She never said, hey, I need you here. She said, go. Right? I had multiple classmates like that I spent a lot of hours trying to help get through that class. Because frankly, the academics were really easy, but not for everybody. right? And so she supported me through that, and that was the trend through our whole career. Every time I called her and I said, hey, somebody that I'm supervising that's struggling in one way or another, I'm going to be after work to talk to them. No problem. Little babies at home, working crazy hours. No problem. Our first 5 years here, Rob and Andrea can tell you, we worked the most stupid schedule in the history of the world for 5 years in this place. Contingency Airborne Reconnaissance System, which I don't know, loosely translates to work every day forever. And Sergeant Leach can tell you too, although he escaped pretty quick after that. He was on the 18-month plan. The rest of us, I was here 7.5 years. And that was the first 5 years of Liz and I's marriage. And we worked hard. And they changed our schedule every day. And we worked, like, if you didn't go home and sleep, you were in trouble, because they were going to call you and have you come back to work when you thought you were supposed to be sleeping. And she dealt with all of that with a newborn and a 2-year-old. That was the last 3 years that we were here, dealing with the newborn and 2-year-old. And so I want you guys to understand that while I appreciate the service that all of you have done, I know that your spouses and your family members, that if they don't support you, that doesn't happen. And you guys need to know that too. So thank you, Liz. That said, that's all I have. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it.
Now that we're all a little emotional. In keeping with tradition, we will conclude today's ceremony with the playing of the Air Force song by Mr. Justin Williams, Smith Williams, I apologize. While it is customary for Air Force members to stand, we invite all of our guests to join us in standing for the Air Force song and the departure of the official party and distinguished guests. Whenever you're ready, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Please join us for a reception behind you immediately following to congratulate Master Sergeant Peterson and Elizabeth. Thank you.